Well, if the last game against Dallas was kind of a roller coaster game, this game against the Blues was more of a bulldozer type effort on behalf of the LA Kings. For once, since like Christmas, I'm pretty sure we haven't had a first period goal since then, since before then. The Kings actually came out strong. It was exciting. The first like 3 or 4 shots on goal was all the Kings. Didn't even go anywhere near Budai. All pressure, all power, exactly how you want the Kings to start a game. And it got even better when poor Derek Forbort, bless his heart, probably needs stitches because he was bleeding, and drew a 4-minute double minor penalty. Yay! The Kings are on the power play to start the game, and 46, I believe, seconds into said power play, they scored their first goal. I'm not going to be able to complain about Jake Muzzin today, guys. I'm actually going to credit him with 2 goals. He was on deck for a hat trick by the end of this game, and he was not the only player. I'm getting ahead of myself. Very exciting. This goal just kind of ricochets or rockets by Jake Allen, the goaltender for the poor Blues, at least for the first period and a bit. We'll get into that. So that's Jake Muzzin putting us on the board about 3 minutes, 12 seconds-ish into the first period. And then we still had 2 minutes of a power play remaining, which was garbage and we did nothing with. But whatever, the Kings still had all of the momentum and all of the shots and all of the goals. It was a great start. And then we, jinxed it and took 2 penalties in a row. The first one was Nick Shore, in which we actually cleared it pretty well. And the second was Drew Doughty, and he knew he'd done it too. It was boarding, and he smashed his stick after, just frustrated with himself for doing that, or at least doing it right in front of the ref. Either way, he goes in the box, and it's an even better penalty kill. They have no shots on goal, but it does kind of set the Kings back a little bit. They've lost a bit of their momentum, and it takes about half a period or so, the middle half of that period, for them to get it back. And they finally do. And Trevor Lewis gets a breakaway. And Anze Kopitar is right at the net. And dude, if I'm Jake Allen, I'm looking at Anze Kopitar too. I'm looking at Trevor Lewis thinking, nope, Kopitar's the one I gotta protect. And yet this happened. Doesn't rocket past Allen so much as it just kind of lightly, gently soars over. I mean, it was easily preventable, but he was probably distracted by the fact that Kopitar was right at his net, and so was distracted. I don't know, not the greatest goal, but we'll take it. So that's Trevor Lewis with 1, and that puts the Kings up by the end of the first period 2-0. Everything's looking dandy. And then we open the second period, and we get a 3rd goal, which put Jake Muzzin up for his on deck for a hat trick. Things are even better. I think it was exactly, or at least when I noticed that they pulled Allen, or they announced that they pulled Allen, that was exactly 5 minutes into the second period. So he lasted 25 minutes into a 60-minute game. This is the 3rd start he's been pulled in the last 5. If I read this correctly, he has let in 9 goals over 40 shots in that time span. Something's going up with him. I felt bad for him, but not so bad as I felt for the next goaltender who let in the next goal. So this one was Tanner Pearson. Goodness, I love it when Tanner Pearson's on the ice and doing wonderful things. Oh, geez. It was just not the Blues night. It was the LA Kings night, and I love that, so I really should sound more excited. Yeah, so for those counting along at home, it's maybe 6 minutes into the second period, and the Kings are up 4-0. So everything's indicating this game is going to be awesome. And it continued along that way until this completely garbage goal. I cannot even describe accurately, because I don't think that this is the best angle for it. I was sitting right there. I cannot describe accurately just how many things were messed up on the play and how many different ways people and skates and sticks that the puck hit, and it was still traveling slowly, and I don't know how that happened. But it did. They The call on the ice was a good goal. They immediately went to Toronto to see if it was overruled by a distinct kicking action. It was not. So the Kings then used their coach's challenge for goalie interference. Goal still stands, so we're 4-1. And that's still pretty good. And the Kings are still dominating. In the second period, the Blues had 2 shots on goal. Total. So they scored on one of them, and then somewhere in the middle of that period, they got another shot off. But that was really all they did in the second period. So by the end, we get a 5th goal. The McFlurry minute, Tanner Pearson, second Kings player to be on deck for a hat trick in this game, brings another one home. And it's the McFlurry minute, so everyone in the stadium gets McFlurries and they're all excited, and there's just so much happening at the end of the second. There's maybe 5 seconds left and nobody's paying attention at that point except Kyle Clifford at the 20-minute mark and some other player from the Blues got into something, and so we come back in the third, up 5-1. We have, the Blues have 8 shots, and we have like 20-something, and so Clifford and this other Blues guy now have 10-minute misconducts, so they're sitting in the penalty box. And it's just all around, like, mass chaos happened at the end of the second period. We get a second penalty, really our first, like, we're only a man down, but like I said, Clifford was in the box, so he's joined to the box by Muzzin, so I guess he's not getting his third part of the hat trick in those 2 minutes anyway. And while they don't score within the first 5 minutes of the third period, they had literally doubled their shots on goal from the first 2 periods. So while that's not a whole lot, they only had 8 shots in 5 minutes, considering they had 8 shots in 40 minutes before that. Not great. The Kings knew they were going to come out strong, and I guess the penalty just gave them that extra little push, and so they kind of dominated the third period. But nothing was getting by Budaj. None of the shots were really good enough to, and the Kings had a lot of good defensemen out in the ice there. They put Martinez back with McNabb, thank God, because Martinez and Muzzin was just a train wreck. So that's all going pretty well. I mean, the Kings realize that they can't just let the Blues completely steamroll over them in the third period, and they actually have to start playing hockey again. So things come back. It's looking a little more even towards the end of the third period. We get a power play, which looked more like a penalty kill, like total amateur hour. I don't even know why we bothered. That was the second one. We got 2, and we technically had 6 seconds of a 5-on-3. So the first one, all they did was try to get the puck to either Jake Muzzin or Tanner Pearson. So they had, like, every time they would get the puck to Muzzin at the point there, he would shoot, and Tanner Pearson would be the one by the goal to tip it in. So, like, either way, it was going to be one of these 2 players getting a hat trick if the Kings scored again. And that pretty much happened for like a minute and a half until they cleared, and then they had to obviously switch, and then they get the 6 seconds of 5-on-3, so you know that Tanner and Jake are on the ice again for that. But that was when the amateur hour penalty or kill or power play, for us kicked in, and it was, I don't even think it spent time in the Blues zone. Like, there was a puck drop and maybe a couple of things of movement that Muzzin tried to hit, and then it was out for a minute and 45 seconds. It was not good. But it didn't matter because the Kings were 5-1, and the Blues had basically, I mean, I don't want to say given up because they still kept trying to play hockey, but the Kings were out shooting them and out hitting them and basically all around outplaying them, and ended up winning the game 5-1 pretty convincingly. Like, with a few minutes in the third period aside, it's pretty much all LA Kings, and that's really all you can ask for. I know Budaj would have wanted that 1 goal back just because it was a total garbage goal. Like, it just made me cringe. So it wasn't even like it was a, good, congratulations, that was a great shot to get by. No, it was crap. But either way, that's 2 points. That brings the Kings still, I believe, in their wild card spots. And just a really good all-around game. And guys, the last, I want to say 10 goals now at this point have not come from Jeff Carter. And while Jeff Carter has been contributing, don't want to take away anything from Jeff Carter. That's all I'd been complaining about before, was that Jeff Carter's the only one on the Kings team that can score. That is no longer true. We're getting lots of people step up. Even Trevor Lewis seemed surprised that he was one of them tonight. I swear if Trevor Lewis could score, he would be one of the best players in the NHL. I love everything else he does. And I loved all of the little things that the Kings were doing tonight. Doughty was just a beast on the ice. He was back to his Norris Trophy caliber. He said the other day that the thing he was most proud of is, he'd like some more points on the board, but he's really proud of what he's doing defensively. And tonight, he should have been. Nick Dowd. I love that kid. Dowd and Doughty. There's something just beautiful about that. I think they had the first and second assist on Muzzin's first goal. Dowd and Doughty out there just playing killer hockey tonight. Everything was going their way. They were chipping away. They were making really good plays, really smart plays, timely plays. They were very aggressive in it. I was just liking everything I was seeing. So yay! Good things are happening for the Kings. And of course, there was an awesome Chris Sutter dance can that I will leave you with, so enjoy.